In this video, we're going to talk about adverbials. Adverbials is a more general word than just the word adverb, but adverbials is connected to the idea of an adverb. So what is an adverb or an adverbial? Over here, I give the function of adverbials. They give information about when, where, why, how, and how much, how long, how often. All those pieces of information in a sentence. You may have learned about adverbs a long time ago that they give information about a verb. Basically, that is true, but it's more than that. They give information about adjectives also. They give information about other adverbs. And they give information about complete ideas, complete phrases or clauses. This is the basic information you get from an adverbial. So what's the form? Well, the form of an adverbial may be your traditional kind of an adverb, which would be a one-word adverb like carefully. Many adverbs end with an ly after an adjective form. You will commonly see that, commonly, but not always. In fact, always is another good adverb, and it has no ly. So there are plenty of adverbs that do not have an ly. You may also have a phrase that is an adverb. A word like very in front of the word carefully. Now, very is also an adverb because it describes another adverb, carefully. And that is an adverb. But very carefully would be an adverbial phrase or an adverb phrase. Prepositional phrase could also be considered an adverbial or an adverb phrase because it's a group of words that work together to explain one of these pieces of information. So, with great care, instead of saying carefully, you could use a prepositional phrase. You could also use a complete clause, and a clause has a subject and a verb, and it will usually begin with a subordinating conjunction in an adverb clause. Words like as, because, if. So, as if is our subordinating conjunction here. As if it were fragile. Maybe I'm describing holding my little teddy bear here. I could say, I held my teddy bear carefully. I held my teddy bear very carefully. I held my teddy bear with great care. I held my teddy bear as if it were fragile. Okay, so now that we've talked about function and form, let's look at location. This is what I find a lot of people learning English struggling with. Where do they go? Oh, that's a very good question. Let's look at that. So, the location. If it is a one-word adverb of frequency, manner, or indefinite time. You might be saying, oh, what are we talking about? Not so difficult. These are adverbs that you're familiar with, most likely. Adverbs of frequency are the ones that you usually learn pretty early on in English. Always, usually, sometimes, never, rarely. Adverbs of manner are very commonly the adverbs that have the ly, carefully, slowly. Adverbs of indefinite time. Indefinite time. Here's an example right here that I used. Recently, lately, soon. These are adverbs of indefinite time. So, if you have one of these kinds of adverbs, often is an adverb of frequency, recently, indefinite time. slowly, adverb of manner. Then they usually come right around the verb or with the verb, but the placement might change a little bit. It will come before simple verb forms. Here is a simple verb form, has, simple present. The adverb comes directly before it. My brother often has back problems. If you have a verb that has two or more parts, if it has auxiliary verbs, then usually these adverbs come after the first auxiliary. His back has recently been bad. The verb is has been. Our auxiliary verb is has. So here is the adverb. And then the be verb always wants to be special, and it is. You need to treat it differently. If you have the be verb, you put the adverb of frequency, manner, or indefinite time directly after it. It is slowly getting better. So again, adverbs of frequency, manner, or indefinite time. What about the other adverbs? Well, I'm glad that you asked that question. Other adverbs generally come at the end of a sentence with location before time. That's just one of those things that sometimes makes a difference. So, I went downtown yesterday. We've got two adverbs here. Downtown. This is a location, a place, a location. Where? Yesterday. This is when. It's a time. We want to put the location before the time. It doesn't sound good to say, I went yesterday downtown. I went downtown yesterday. All right. Now, as I say here, they generally come at the end of sentences. Don't expect these to be absolute, all the time rules. Sometimes you have one word adverbs of frequency that work a little differently. For example, the word sometimes could be at the beginning of a sentence just as well as in the middle. But those are ones you usually learn, especially because they are very common and they work a little differently. This right here, in fact, is a good example of an adverb, right? It's got the ly, and where is it? It is directly before the simple form of the verb. Okay, you do have a number of situations where an adverbial could come at the beginning of a sentence. It happens quite often. So what are these situations that you should pay attention to? If there are already two adverbials after the verb, then it's getting too crowded. It's like not enough space. We already have two adverbials here. If a third one tries to come, go to the front of the sentence. Don't stay here. Let's look at an example. Every afternoon, I take a nap on the sofa for 20 minutes. So, on the sofa, this is a prepositional phrase that is giving a location, right? For 20 minutes, this is giving information about how long. Another prepositional phrase. Then I get every afternoon. It just gets too much at the end. I take a nap on the sofa every afternoon for 20 minutes. It's not incorrect, but it's not considered really good writing or speaking. So better to put that at the beginning. If the direct object is very long, kind of a similar situation. There's too much after the verb, so let's put the adverbial before, at the beginning of the sentence. At home, I emptied all of the papers from my backpack and threw some away. better. Put at home at the beginning. We have a lot after the verb. And if you said, I emptied all of the papers from my backpack and threw some away at home, it just doesn't sound as good. It's too far away from the verb. To show logical relationships or avoid confusion. Let's look at an example. Yesterday, I found a letter that my friend had sent me. What happens if yesterday is at the end? I found a letter that my friend had sent me yesterday. Did I find it yesterday or did my friend send it to me yesterday? It's confusing. We want to avoid confusion. So let's put it at the beginning where it's closer to the verb it connects to. Here's another example. There's a closet on one side. On the other side, there are windows. On one side is a prepositional phrase that is an adverbial. On the other side, another prepositional phrase, adverbial. These have a strong connection in the relationship. You're explaining the one side and the other side. So it sounds good to put this at the beginning of the sentence here so that it connects easily and clearly to the prepositional phrase before. Also, to show emphasis. Anytime you take something out of its original or normal position and put it somewhere else, it is going to make it show you some kind of emphasis. So, quickly, she ran into the room and shut the door. Instead of saying, she quickly ran into the room and shut the door. This really makes it punch. Also, to apply to more than one sentence. If you have an adverb or an adverbial that you want to connect to a number of sentences, it works well to put it at the beginning of the first sentence. Because you explain this, now here we're using a clause. I'm using a clause. Because you explain this, but it's an adverb clause. Because you explain this, I understand it much better. I can use the forms with greater confidence and accuracy. This sentence is also because you explained this. So the adverbial, the adverb clause applies to both pieces of information. So here's your basic general information about adverbials. I hope you use them with greater confidence and accuracy.